Welcome to Sharing the Middle, where we share our stories of the messy middles of life to be able to see one another and hopefully feel ourselves be seen in each other's stories. We're still working on that intro. I don't know. This is going to be a continuation of me, Lacey, your host's story in conversation with the people in my world. I find it a lot easier for me to tell my story in conversation. And boy, do you learn a lot about me in this conversation with my friend Emma. Emma has been my friend for a very long time, and this was an opportunity, one, for us to catch up. So you'll hear our joy in just catching up. But we really talk through going through a lot of our life together, what it means to be a lifelong friend, and going into from girlhood to womanhood and our relationships with each other and all of this different stuff throughout our lives. It's a great conversation that gets really deep at sometimes. And I'm just so thankful for Emma's willingness to talk to me and share, and just the amount of joy that it's brought me from doing this interview. We've seen each other a lot more, and it's just fantastic and wonderful, and I love it so much. This is part one. We'll have a part two in a week, and let's jump right in. The reason why I thought you would be a really great person just to start with is because you have a view of me throughout almost my whole life in a different way than like my family does. You've always seen different parts of my life and all the different phases. It just made sense to me that, I don't know, in talking to you, people would learn a lot about me. That's where it started. And then the other thing that I was thinking about, and I actually adjusted this as I was thinking last night, is you and I experienced a lot of girlhood into tweens, into womanhood, into parenthood, like all those different things. And when I think about those things, I think about you a lot of times. I just wanted to talk about those things.
I love it too, because I think about our friendship, and I remember you said one time it was so easy to not have to put the effort in. And friendships take so much effort. And I'll never forget, for your wedding, you even asked me still to read something. And we hadn't been that close, but I feel like we will always be close even without having to catch up.
Yeah.
And so even when you asked me to read something at your wedding, that meant so much to me, just to know I still meant something in your life.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was just so cool even after. I don't know. It was just, great moment.
Yeah. And it just, again, like I said, if you asked anybody in my family, they'd be like, your friend Emma, I guess. And your friend Alex. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Those are the people that they would name.
Your people.
Yeah. And I agree. And that's something that I think is special about our friendship and it being a lifelong friendship. Do you remember when we met?
4th grade. Yeah.
Do you remember where? I remember, I can picture it in
swim
my mind.
team.
It was swim team.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was a bigger deal for me because it was you and Lauren.
Oh, yes.
And so I was like, I have friends.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny because I was thinking about this morning, and I have a 4th grader.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got a 4th grader and a 5th grader. And there's so many times where I look at her friends and I think, you have to live up to Lacey's potential. You have to live up to Lauren. Oh, over there, I see you, Leah. I see you. And so it's just so interesting to see the people she surrounds herself with. And she's a mini me.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of them, I'm like, oh, that's her Lacey. It's just so neat because I think, we attract certain people in our lives.
Yeah. And we met, and I remember literally we were was it like the Y in Springfield? Like it was such a random place where we would have our preseason stuff.
I think it was Trotwood.
Was it? I don't know. It might have been. And because I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, it takes forever to get there.
Yes. And it wasn't that warm. Like it was always cold. And the showers were gross.
Yeah. And it was the first time I had ever done swim team and all these different things. And I just remember being like, oh, okay, this isn't going to be so bad.
No.
And sitting next to you and Lauren on the side of the pool, like I have that visual in my head. And then luckily we were on swim team all summer, and then we were in the same class. And I know it sounds dumb, but I think those are the things that really just solidified and made it easy.
Yes.
Because I think about different periods of time. And a few months ago, I said I was never anyone's best friend. And you were like, ma'am.
I'm not. I was like, ouch. Do you not remember?
I do, but I think it's one of those things where we always think that we're not as important to somebody else. Because I also can think about in our friendship, there's always been other people that you, and I don't know if you would say it back, I would be like, that's Emma's best friend, not me. And that's so dumb. I just want to say, I know it's dumb.
No, but I think we all feel that way at times.
Yeah.
Even in our lives now, I'm not the person they go to. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I think that set us up for a lifelong friendship.
Yes.
Where you didn't always have to be the person all the time. And I didn't always have to be the person all the time. But you knew I was always there and I knew you were always there.
Absolutely. The pressure wasn't on.
No.
But I knew the minute I needed you, you'd be right there.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah. And it doesn't hurt that there was several summers where you essentially lived at my house.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I was thinking about the other day, the time that the power went out and it was me, you, and my mom and dad. And we couldn't get into the house because we only used the garage.
Why don't I remember this?
And I remember we went to Bob Evans. And I don't know why. I just remember this moment of like, yeah, of course Emma was there.
Of course. Yes. I was there for everything. Do you remember? I think it's a school around here. Your dad had a Wendy's event and we came down here to help run the event.
Was it a rollerblading event?
Yes.
Yes.
Or a bicycle or something.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, man, I'm so going to get a Frosty at the end of this. I can't wait. And I think I ended up with a banana. And I was like, wait, this isn't
always a little more shortchanged than me.
But it's so funny because I remember every car. You remember the Saab?
Oh, I know. Yeah. Which one? There were 3.
Exactly. And then I was even thinking about Brandy's car.
Mm-hmm.
It was a convertible and it leaked.
It was Amy's car.
Okay.
That was the car that
red?
I got, the red one. Because then I got it.
And then we sang that Lizzie McGuire song in it.
I had the exact same thought.
Summer. That summer was my favorite summer of all time.
It was the summer before junior year. Yeah.
Yeah, that sophomore summer year.
Because we had more independence. We could drive places. But life wasn't really all that complicated yet.
We were broke, but still had money to go out to eat.
Yeah. Yeah. Spent a lot of time driving. I was trying to explain that to Joe. Because now that we live in the Dayton area again, we were driving somewhere and he was like, did we just get into the country? And I'm like, yeah, that's how it works up here is that you go not even a mile and you're going to be in the country again. I was like, did you guys not just drive around? That is what we did most of the time.
Mm-hmm. You got lost to get found.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was the best. I feel like we ate at Bob Evans all the time. That was just
when it opened. I remember when it opened and it was such a big deal that we got a Bob Evans because it was a sit-down place.
Oh, yeah.
And there weren't many sit-down places. Like
so fancy.
Hinders was too old for us and all the cute places in downtown Tip weren't there. And
then Applebee's. Do you remember going to Applebee's?
Applebee's in Troy.
Like that summer we spent so much time in Applebee's.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if we could just go back to that for a week?
Just for a week.
Just a week. I don't want much more than that. My anxiety can't handle that at this age, but a week. Oh.
I would.
Maybe even one night. Just maybe one night.
I also think about times where it's like we would sneak out of my parents' house and Bob and Carolyn can handle it now, Emma. It's been a long time. But we would have the most wholesome fun.
Oh,
it was so wholesome. We never did anything that bad.
We literally were just running through people's backyards barefoot.
And having so much fun.
Oh, yeah. I do think there were guys involved, but it was never somebody we were with. Like, it was Jason Miller, who we were just friends with.
Yeah, Jason Miller and Sean Reagan, because they also did
They lived in the neighborhood.
They didn't pay toilet paper in my house, but they wrote "We Were Here" when it was raining, and so it was.
That's hilarious.
Because they used to joke that they would watch our TV through my parents' back windows.
I could see them doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, do you remember the Spit Fest with Paige?
The what?
Spit Fest with Paige in her driveway. We spit all over each other.
I don't remember that.
How do you not remember that?
I just maybe have blocked that one.
I mean, all of us. I think Paige didn't even come down from her roof. I think she was just sitting up on her roof.
I believe that, yeah.
And yeah, we had a Spit Fest in her yard, spitting on each other. I know. But it was like the middle of the night also. Anyway, it's funny because I do your mom's hair.
Yeah.
I do Paige's mom's hair. And so I have talked to all of them. I don't know if I've actually ever told your mom that we used to sneak out of your basement and I was probably the instigator. But sometimes I think, okay, I wasn't that terrible of an influence because they still come to me and they still sit in my chair and they don't resent me for the things I did with their children.
You are not a bad influence.
I mean,
I don't think so.
I think I was a little bit more of the rebel between all of us.
Yeah, but I didn't do anything.
Anything above what Lacey does is considered a rebel.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Like, I didn't even get a detention in our entire school career or anything like that. I never got in trouble. I don't know. It just didn't occur. I guess it did occur to me. I don't know. But I never would do anything I wasn't comfortable with. That is something that I know I did have some.
Yes.
And looking back now, I don't want my children to know this, but if they did the things that I did as far as like sneaking out and what we did, I would be okay with it.
Me too. Oh,
Because that's part of figuring out your independence and part of becoming who you are and testing boundaries. And I still think about some of the times when we did have conflict about it and it did not go well. But that was a learning experience for me.
Yeah.
I love you're just like deep in thought.
Because there's so many things that I don't remember. My mom always says, did you block out your entire childhood? I'm like, I don't think I blocked out the entire thing, but there's so many moments that I don't remember, but majority of them were in your basement or in your kitchen or do you remember the cha-cha? What was it?
The cha-cha.
Your kitchen was a runway where we did a catwalk, the catwalk song in your kitchen over and over for probably an hour. And your parents never stopped us.
I don't remember that.
I don't think I would let my children do that because I would be so annoyed. And they were just like, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I don't remember that. Being in the basement, especially before it got finished. And we would roll around on the ab rollers and stuff.
And we would chase each other. Oh, man.
Yeah, those are like, when I think about girlhood, it's more closer to that time.
Yes. And like the whatever scary thing that was in your closet for the Christmas decoration, that was
the homemade Santa that my parents made that haunted your nightmares
all the time. Yes. But that's what I think about, that fun we had.
Yeah.
I hope my kids get that, like you said. I'm just like, oh, I want them to have those memories.
And I don't want to be a part of them. That's something else that I think my parents did a really good job of being available for us, but they were not hovering or anything like that. I think they had a really good balance of that, and I appreciate that.
I think you are so lucky that your mom is so wise, but yet she's so discerning on probably giving you ideas, but never telling you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And just knowing her now as an adult, but also looking back on our childhood and thinking about the things and how she was involved, but yet it was always in such a positive light. She was always there to help. She was always there to take care of us. She was so nurturing, but it was never like, you should do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, that's unheard of.
Because I do think of some of our friends where we didn't go to their house because it was like, you have to do things this way and
yes,
all this stuff. And I remember going to Lauren's house once and I was talking about a comedian. And I'm like, and he doesn't curse. And you guys were like, and I'm like, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
That is such a good thing.
It's just that it existed.
Yes.
That it was like, that it would be a thing, I think, consider. So I do know what you mean when it comes to that.
She was so good.
Carolyn's the bomb.
The
if there is one outcome of this podcast,
oh my gosh,
mostly that Carolyn's the bomb.
Yeah. Brag about how amazing we all want to be Carolyn Bradley when we grow up.
Which she would think is crazy. Like, why would we want that? Yeah.
She's so good. But okay, let's talk about your sisters and Rob. It's funny because looking back also, I feel like I remember more memories of being around your family, which is wild because you're so distant in age from the older ones. but yet they still included you in so much. And so many of my memories when I was at your house involved your sisters and them either taking us places or hanging out with us or Kira doing our makeup on Christmas. Do you remember that?
No, I believe you though.
I think I brought over a new kit and she's, let's play. And she like sat and did our makeup and borrowing Becky's shorts and Amy driving us all over and taking us to the movies and then hanging out in Brandy's room in the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she had a cat and I was so excited about it.
Yes. And we had to play with the cat and watch WWE.
It's funny that you say that because in my mind, my childhood was not spent with my family, like with my siblings very often. I spent a lot of time one-on-one with my mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's funny to hear you say that. Now, I do remember the frustration. I'll never forget Rob being like, damn it, I have to take you to Emma's house. And I'm like, yeah, you do.
So far out there, isn't it? I know Matt was saying the other day, the girls have volleyball and they don't get out till 8:40 and that's really late.
Yeah.
And he's, will you just see if they can find a friend to bring them home? And I instantly locked up. We can't do that. We can't do that to them because I live so far away that I still remember having to ask my friends, can you take me home? And then being like, oh. Like I even had a couple that would drop me off at the end of the driveway. Yeah. Because my driveway was a quarter of a mile long. Yeah. And they're like, okay, I'll take you home, but I'm not going down your driveway.
Rob did that to me at a certain point. I'm not getting my car dirty.
I know. Yes. And the potholes and yes. Oh my goodness.
But I was trying to explain to Joe that your house growing up was also like almost like this other reality for us.
It was an island.
It was out in the middle of nowhere. And so it was another kind of space for that like rebellious, but also very innocuous
wholesome.
In a lot of ways.
Wholesome.
I think I hear other people's stories of growing up. Man.
I know. The things we could have done that we didn't do because we were too busy being dorks. We were playing in the barn or
running away from the goat because it would charge us every once in a while.
I tell people about that goat all the time. And I don't even think that's a part of my life that Matt will never know, my husband. And I'm like, you'll never know that side of me. No matter how many times I tell you the story, you just don't get it.
Yeah.
And so that is
knowing you now, you probably wouldn't know. Emma would drive us around on a gator and go as fast as possible.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Because that is proof that I was fun. Because now I'm the one that's, no, we can't go too fast. No, I'm the, scaredy cat.
So that's been a big shift that you were more, I don't want to say reckless because I don't think you were reckless, but you were more comfortable with risk.
I was reckless. I think I was.
Okay.
I mean, I think I got drunk in the 8th grade and went to a football game.
See, and those things I wasn't part of.
Nope. That was my rebel phase.
But it's so funny because nobody ever, like you guys, everybody just kept that away from me.
And it's weird because I think there were moments where you were there, but it wasn't, we knew better than to even, and it wasn't like, no, we shouldn't offer that to Lacey. It was just like, oh no, more for me.
Yeah. I was oblivious a lot.
Yeah. It's for the best, really.
Which is fine. It is funny. Like I said, now that I don't know if you've heard me talk about human design.
Yes.
And I'm
manifester.
What's called a manifester.
Yes.
And part of being a manifester is that I have what's called a closed aura, which at first I was so offended by. I'm like, oh my gosh, do people think I'm this closed off person and all this stuff? And it's no, it's just that I'm able to keep stuff back. But it also means I don't get a lot of stuff that other people get because they don't feel like they can do it to me. There's just something about my aura or whatever that's like that. And I think about times like that where I'm like, that was that in place, wasn't it? They were just like, yeah, that's not going to be for her. And that's just how everybody was. It was like,
yeah.
It's
almost, but I also think you've always been one that we always wanted to respect in a way because it was like, no, because you are so good at being well-mannered. I don't want to say a perfectionist, but you're always one that never wanted to really tiptoe the lines. Mm-hmm. And so I think for a long time, there were so many moments where it was like, oh no, we can't get her in trouble. I don't care if I get in trouble, but we can't get Lacey in trouble. Oh, yeah.
Again, conversations that, I do look back now at times and I'm like, oh, that's probably why I wasn't invited to that or why this didn't happen. I don't care now. At the time, I was probably devastated.
I know. I think about so many times where even just middle school, there was like a table that people would sit at. And it was like, oh, I want to be invited to sit at that table. And now I look back, I'm like, thank gosh, I wasn't at that table because we had so much fun. Do you remember taking a bag of chips and breaking it up into a million pieces and then putting it on the sandwich?
I do.
That.
See, and it's funny that you say that because and this is all made up stuff. I just want to be very clear. I always felt like you were like the most popular girl ever.
No.
Yes.
You are hilarious. No, thank you for saying that. But at the same time, I do feel like I've always been a people pleaser like you.
Mm-hmm.
So I always wanted to be well liked. But at the end of the day, I feel like I know who I want to be around. I don't know. And that's something that's been a bigger in my life as I've gotten older is like I'm very protective of the energy I put out of who I'm around. And I feel like even as a kid, there were times that I was like that without really knowing it, where I was more guarded because I knew they would probably hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
And I wasn't willing to put myself in that situation.
Yeah.
But I think back on even junior high, we had so much fun. Like when I think about junior high, freshman year, sophomore year, even just that one day. Do you remember there was one day, I think it was after a dance, you, me, and Lauren went down to the park and then we went to the dollar store.
Is that the day I got hit by the car?
No, but we do have to circle back to that. But it was just like a beautiful spring day. I think it was after like the spring dance. And you, me, and Lauren went to the dollar store and we got silly little things like a picture frame. And we just laid on the bridge by the creek. And we just had this like magical day. I can probably find pictures from it, but it was just like the most perfect spring day. And I was just like, this life is good. Yeah.
There were a lot of those days.
I do feel like Tip City as a whole, looking at it, there's negative connotations to it, but also the simplicity of how easy life was. It was safe. Let's get real. That town is pretty safe, but also just it's a little podunky to where those simple things made us so happy.
It's suburban idyllic in a lot of ways. I was so ignorant to so much, which I'm simultaneously grateful for and sad about. And it's hard to reconcile those two things.
Yes, absolutely.
Obviously, there's a lot that I just was oblivious to just because I'm me, let alone because I live.
Oh, no. When I moved to Cincinnati, I felt so embarrassed and shamed of how ignorant my mindset was because of how I grew up. But at the same time, I was so eager to learn that.
You've always been a very open-minded person, though. I feel like that shame is probably more self-imposed because you want it.
Maybe not. Shame's not the best word, I guess. It would be more embarrassed. Like I should have known better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how did I not know that?
There are a lot of things I'm like, I
know. Man.
But I do want to say, I want to have little chapters of our life because I would say junior high into that early part of high school was really, you and I were very tight.
Yes. Freshman homecoming. Best dance ever.
It was just the girls.
Just the girls.
Yeah.
And your dad made us dinner.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That steak, I still think about. That shrimp cocktail, still think about. And there was probably some bomb dessert that was amazing.
It was probably gator pie.
Sitting at the table with the candles lit. And it was just the greatest experience. No dance will ever top that.
Yeah. And it was our first dance, too.
Yeah. And it was in the old high school, which was rough. Hot.
It was hot. I do remember how hot it was.
Oh.
There's a couple pictures where you can just see the sweat on people's foreheads.
I know. What did we do after?
I don't know.
I feel like we had to have spent the night at your house.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I would say maybe late high school, we weren't necessarily as close, but again, still, because you were like working a lot, you were doing cheerleading.
Fell off the map my senior year.
Yeah.
I only was at the high school one class.
Yeah, because you did PSEO.
And I also was dating Aaron and lived in Cincinnati at that time. But to loop back around.
Yeah. after that, when I went to college, you were living in Cincinnati then, and you would come pick me up at my dorm, and we would just go out and about.
Do you remember me cutting your hair in the dorm?
Yes, I do.
The dorm bathroom?
And it was such a gross bathroom.
I know. Do you remember and that was your freshman roommate.
Takara.
Also, not to bring up food again, but I also remember one of my favorite memories of when I was 19 was that you took me to the cafeteria. So with not going to college, I didn't understand how cafeterias worked.
Yeah.
And you swiped your card for me.
Yep.
And it was an all-you-can-eat buffet. And so now when you talk about the Travis Kelce thing, I think about that cafeteria. I'm like, oh, I've been in there and it is good. Top-notch quality campus food.
Yeah. When I passed out and you weren't, I wasn't Mel was there that day. It was, a special day.
Yeah.
But I would say we stayed pretty tight during that time for sure.
Yes.
I would say it was mostly when you moved back up
to Tip. And then I had a couple kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. That usually gets in the way.
And it's understandable.
I know.
One of the biggest gifts you could ever give me is telling a friend, coworker, loved one, family member, anybody that you know that you think would enjoy the podcast about it. We're a little operation, and just you sharing with one person will make a huge difference for us. So if you have some time today, take a minute, share Sharing the Middle with someone in your life, and hopefully they'll start sharing the middle with us. I will say, I associate you with some of the most difficult.
I'm so sorry.
No, it was never your fault. It was always like, I had to be brave to be a good friend to you. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to throw up.
I actually, to be honest, you are taken out of that equation.
Okay.
Yes. So don't worry. Like,
it's so funny because I'm like, I worried for one.
No, not at all. No.
Because somebody had brought something to me because they knew I was friends with you. And I was like, oh.
It is funny because when I hear that name and I'm like, oh, that's funny. She delivered some news to me. But at the same time, she was wise because I, at that time, was so in denial that I was like, nope.
Kudos to her for being brave.
And absolutely, because after that scenario, I had so many people come up to me and go, I saw and I just couldn't tell you. And every time somebody says that to me, I literally just, seriously, like, you don't respect me enough to think that I should deserve to know that information. So when I was actually dating, I got on dating sites. I saw someone's husband on there and I screenshot it. And it took me 2 days to come up with the courage to send it to her. And she was like, actually, we're already separated. I just haven't put it on Facebook. And I was like, oh, thank God.
I have my stomach hurts now thinking about how I felt that day.
I know. We've been through it all, Lacey.
So and then I think since then we've been a little bit more space, but
thank God for technology.
Yeah.
I think that is such a good thing because I can still keep up with your life. I still know what you're doing. I still get to see your babies. I still get to like partake in everything. And actually having your mom as a client, I get to catch up with everything like, oh, how's Becky? How's Lacey?
Yeah.
But also the benefit of social media is that I get to see you, but I also feel like that takes away
the need to reach out.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a negative way.
Yeah. I get it. I agree.
Yeah. And even as I was driving over here today, I was like, oh man, it's 5 minutes away.
I know, it's so close.
I am so embarrassed that I haven't been over here yet. You just wait. We're coming over every day in the summer.
It's fine.
You think I spent a lot of time in your basement. Now that I know how cute your house is.
We have a great backyard.
I know. I see the fence. I'm like, oh, we could just let the kids out there and not even worry about them.
That's my dream.
Oh.
Yeah. I want to get a play set so I truly can just be like, go occupy yourselves, please. So we've had those different periods of time.
Looking back, what was your favorite season?
I would agree that time where we were early adolescence, eighth
freshman.
Yeah. I remember hating 7th grade. I don't know why. But I remember 8th grade being okay. Sophomore year was a big turning year for me because I got my braces off. I've looked the same since sophomore year.
Yes, exactly. Yes, 100%.
Also, that's when I would say I had my glow up in life.
Yes.
It's during sophomore year. That's when I got my car. And I do just think about I had a convertible and it was the greatest thing possible. Were you in the car when we were driving and Paige was in the passenger seat? I want to say you were in the back and somebody else was back there. And had the car, the top down, and we pulled up next to a car and it was like an older gentleman in a cowboy hat. And he tipped his hat to Paige and she rolled up the window.
I think Sarah Grimm was in there too.
That's
yes. Yes. She was in the back with me.
Oh, was she?
Yes.
I'll never forget that moment of, Paige, there isn't a ceiling.
I know. That is one of those days where I feel like we were driving up and down, I'm going to call it Poe Avenue, but that's not right. Miller Lane. For some reason, we were at Miller Lane.
Yeah.
I don't think that instance was at Miller Lane, but I remember driving up and down Miller Lane, listening to that Lizzie McGuire song over and over.
Joyful. Do you remember going to see the Lizzie McGuire movie?
Oh, yeah.
Because that is
absolutely.
another canon moment for me, too.
Yes.
Because it was one of the first times where it was like, oh, we're old enough that we got dropped off at CC's Pizza.
Yes.
We got and ate our pizza and paid for it ourselves. And then we went over to the dollar store and bought stuff. And then we walked to the movie theater and saw the movie together. And I think that's part of the reason why I will always love that movie is because I associate it with that day and that experience.
Yeah. And officially feeling like I am a grown up.
I remember just being like, heck yeah.
That freedom. Yes.
We're old enough to do this now.
I feel like we even had pictures from that.
Oh,
and
I'm
I
sure.
think I was burnt. Was it summer? It must have been summer.
Oh, I believe it. Do you want to talk about when I got hit by the car?
Yes, please. Let's. Small town USA, 4 traffic lights. We were on a side street.
Yeah.
There's a grocery store right there. Do you remember why were we even down? Were we on bikes?
We were coming back from the pool. We were on bikes.
Okay, pause. I think about all the time that our parents let us ride our bikes to the pool. What age was that? Because there is no way that I would ever let my 5th grader ride her bike to the pool.
I want to say it was 7th and 8th grade.
Okay, that makes more sense.
We rode our bikes to the pool. Here's what I remember about it. I was in the back and I was always getting left behind. And so I was like, damn it, I'm going to be in the front. And literally the next block I was in the front. And looking back now, I'm like, everybody was wrong in this scenario.
Yes.
Where there was somebody, she was probably like, 18 girl driving. She was at a stop sign and it is a tight turn.
Yes,
it's the building goes very close to the sidewalk to the street. And I got to the sidewalk. She was stopped. I kept going. And she hit me not very hard, but enough to knock me down.
Oh, yes. Like straight up hit by a car.
And then I popped up and was like, everything's okay. No one look at me. No one talk to me. And I was like, we're going. And then we got 10 feet down the road and I heard the sirens.
Oh, you have to think back then there weren't really cell phones. So somebody must have saw it and just called. And do you remember how many vehicles came? That was when I learned that every time an ambulance comes, a fire truck comes.
Yeah.
And 4 police cars. And I feel like there were 2 fire trucks just in case.
I remember is the mortification of it of one, I got hit by a car.
I know. And probably your adrenaline was going so strong.
And I had to make the point that I wanted to be in the front.
It's all right.
Like that part is solidified in my mind. And I just wanted to walk it off. I didn't want to deal with it. And nope. The universe did not let that happen.
No, you weren't going to get away this time. I can remember just thinking, we're all going to get in trouble. Like, this was probably my fault. How are we all going to get in trouble right now?
No, everyone was wrong.
Oh, man.
And I felt bad.
And your parents came, didn't they?
I don't know.
I feel like they came, yes.
Probably. It would have been... I would hope that
they came.
My 8th grader got hit by a car, then I would get called.
That is the wild part about our childhood, too, because your parents were home all of the time.
Yeah. My parents worked out of the house before other people did that.
Yeah, that didn't exist.
Yeah.
But I remember your dad's office, you did not go in those doors. If he was in there, he was doing work.
Yeah.
But it was so interesting because every time we were there, your parents were always there. And that was so comforting in a weird way. Where I think most kids want the parents not to be home. But can we discuss frozen burritos?
Really?
Yeah.
As long as spray butter from your...
Easy Mac, PB&J. I asked this question on my story the other day, and the responses were so sad. It was just like, oh, really? That's what you had? There were Dunkaroos. Somebody said Dunkaroos. But I feel like my house was PB&J, Easy Mac, spray butter.
And we tried to bake with the spray butter. That was always the excitement.
We always tried to make cookies.
And we never were successful.
No. And they never really tasted good.
No. By make cookies, we ate the dough. Did we ever even cook the cookies? No.
But I still feel like I remember the smell of your pantry. It was funny because I remember the smell of your basement before it got finished. And then I remembered the smell of your basement after it got finished. And they were two completely different. It's very sad. But okay, the frozen burritos, you'd wrap it in a paper towel. You'd put it in your microwave. 30 seconds, flip it, another 30 seconds, put it on the plate. Sour cream. You always had salsa. Who always has salsa in the refrigerator? You guys always did. And it was just this always there kind of situation that was so reliable and so yummy.
It sounds like my household was just a reliable place for you.
It was. I think that's, and you have always been that for me, where even during my wedding, everything was so chaotic and you were just this anchor in the entire storm of my life, where you were just like peace and you knew what to do. And you were the person I took wedding shopping dress. Do you remember that?
I do.
I took Lacey, my bridesmaid, with me to go find my wedding dress.
Yeah.
Actually, we went before I was even engaged. I think I was probably 18 at the time.
We went to the David's Bridal in Kenwood.
Yep. And we had to pretend a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And then actually, I think I got engaged at 19. So then we actually went back to Wendy's at 19.
Yep.
That's hilarious. And you were just always that stable, reliable, always there person that shows up no matter what.
Can I say how grateful I am to hear that? Because I don't feel like that person anymore since I've been sick. I feel like I can't show up anymore. So to hear that you, one, had that perception of me and I was right, that was who I was, but that you still see that in me.
I think you are still that person. It just maybe for other people will come off. If I know if I'm going to text you, you're going to text me back.
Yeah.
So you're still that same person, just maybe physically you have a little bit more limitations. Yeah. But that doesn't affect who you are.
It's hard to not, when you think of yourself in a certain way.
Yeah.
Because that's what kind of friend I would always like to think I am, is that maybe I was not, like I said, I didn't think I was people's best friend, but I think people knew if they ever needed me, I was there. And so then when I got sick, it was just hard to realize that I can't be there in the same way.
Yeah.
And even, honestly, no one's been like, Lacey, I need you. But not having the ability to do that is
stripped
hard
from you.
Yeah. Is that still part of me? And obviously it is. I know logically. I think as I get older, the more I learn about friendships is that I care less about what someone would think is like quality of, I spend all this time with this person, the TV show Friends, like that type of friendship.
Yes.
I don't want and or need that.
No.
I don't. And that I value the people who want the most from me but expect the least.
Yes.
And I mean that in a very great way. I would love to have all of this time with you, but I love any time I get with you.
Very much quality over quantity.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like even one deep, vulnerable conversation would mean more than years worth of simple dinners where stupid conversations discussed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 I will say it makes me sad, and maybe this can change, that your girls don't really know me very well and that my kids don't really know you. That actually really upsets me.
Me too. I could not agree. And the fact of, I was explaining all these things to Matt. I'm like, oh, this and that. I'm like, you don't really know her. You're my husband. How do you not know that piece of my life? Because she's so important. She makes up a large percentage of who I am. The fact that you don't know that makes me feel like you don't know me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now that you don't know my kids and my kids don't know your kids, but I think this is so good too, because I feel like this is a shifting point, like a pivot. Okay. How can we make this more?
Yeah. 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 Because I agree. Because that's one of the things that I've always been jealous of Leah. So Leah is our mutual friend, but really has been your friend since what, kindergarten?
Yeah.
Is that I feel like she has such a special relationship with everybody in your life. And I'm like, oh, I don't have that. But I'm more and more okay with it.
She's just one that I will open up my Snapchat and I haven't responded in 5 days. And she still has texted me every single day. And I'm like, oh, you're still there. Hi, you haven't given up on me.
Well, and I think I enjoy your all's friendship because you're so different in life now.
Yes. Could not be more opposite with everything.
I know, but I enjoy how much you enjoy each other. I think that is something that, again, as you get rid of that mentality of being the most important person, you get to see and enjoy your friends' relationships with other people.
Absolutely. I think about Alex and how she was the one here helping you with your house and like putting things together. I'm like, I am so grateful and I cherish that you have that person that can just swoop in and take over when you need it. And you know she's going to do it probably better than what you would have even done.
She hung all the pictures in that room.
Exactly. Where you and I would just be staring at a level like, okay, we can do this.
We can do this. And just never start.
No. We would just sit on the couch and watch TV.
I know.
Or make a frozen burrito. Let's get real.
I don't have frozen burritos, but now I'm like, oh, we should get some.
I know. Like, where do you think they are? I'll figure this out.
They've got to have some at Costco, right?
Oh, definitely. Definitely
got to have some at Costco.
I know Whole Foods has them, but they're probably more crunchy. Beans involved.
Yeah.
But there were beans.
It has to be refried and meat-esque filling.
Taco Bell quality
yes.
meat. And Taco Bell quality refried bean, because sometimes I think the beans are still like beans. No, I just want mush.
Yes, exactly. No, this should have gone through some kind of industrial grinder.
Yes, exactly. Like virtually cat food wrapped in a burrito. Oh, man.
It's funny that you remember the burritos. I don't remember the burritos.
You know what is a pivotal, life-changing moment that I had because of you?
What?
I met Hanson.
Yes.
Taylor Hanson. And I will say, they always say, don't meet your celebrity crush.
Mm-hmm.
I get it now, because after that day, it just wasn't the same. It wasn't. I had him on a soapbox and now he's just sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
But
he's shorter than you'd expect, I think, too. I don't know. He just was small.
It was really early in the morning also.
It probably was.
But that was still one of the best days of my life. Sitting in that little studio downtown Dayton, I remember getting up at the crack of dawn, your dad running through and getting Frosties for the entire band.
Yeah.
And just getting down there. And the fact that you invited me to that, forever grateful.
It's so funny. Wendy's was such a big part of my life.
Huge.
And I don't know how to explain that to people.
No.
And
you were Wendy in the parade.
A couple of times. I wasn't as much as Amy and Becky. I was too big.
I feel like Amy is the perfect Wendy.
Amy is perfect at something.
I know.
But because my dad had his franchise, and that's the reason why we moved up to Tip City, and my parents are do-it-yourselfers in a lot of ways. My parents and my siblings cut the grass. They worked in the stores and all those different things. That was my first job. But Wendy's was always a family member almost. This weird family member that had some cool opportunities, like meeting Hanson.
Oh, yeah.
But also sometimes where we had to go to
pick weeds in the flower bed.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that one. And like mulch.
Yeah.
Why was there always mulch? I felt like you mulched 4 times a year at those places.
That's Carolyn. I don't know.
Okay.
She and I joke about our different standards. She like looks at my yard and I'm like, what can we get rid of? And she was like, I know, I'm trying to think about it.
Listen, we have rock beds because we don't do landscaping.
I think that's genius.
It's so smart.
I literally Googled what are ground cover flowers that we can just take up any of the beds and then put flowers. Thanks for sharing the middle with me. As always, I hope you've been able to see a little bit of yourself in the story we shared today. Don't forget to follow, share, rate, review, and follow me on social media at Lacey Shares. You can always check out the Joyful Support Movement at joyfulsupportmovement.com and see all of the amazing goodness we have there, like No Shame in the Home Game, Pops of Joy, courses, resources, and of course, the joyful support village. All right, now go out there and spread some joy.